Hey everybody, it's Lance here with Sticky Fingers Bee Farm. Finally got some nice sunshine out this evening. It's been pretty wet here about the last week. So I wanted to stop and make this quick video while I had a little bit of a chance to sort of come out here into the bee yard to explain to you guys the situation that I had come up with me. Excuse me for my voice. I've had, I think a case of bronchitis past few days, so my voice isn't the best sounding in the world, which it isn't anyways. But anyways, so I had ordered some a Saskatraz queen in the hopes of introducing some new genetics to my bee yard. And so what I'd done is I made a small split off of another hive. Was going to introduce that queen to this hive, let them, release her. She starts to populate that box. Old genetics die off, her genetics, overtake the box, and then bam, we've got a new breed of bees here in our yard. And the reason being is I wanted to see how these Saskatraz bees do in Alabama, or at least in my part, because they were bred for two purposes, really, two main purposes. One being disease resistance to the diseases carried by the varroa mite. And number two is they are bred to endure colder winters. With them being bred to endure colder winters, I didn't know how they would do we live sort of in like a subtropic climate here in, I guess St. Clair County is either north Alabama or north central Alabama, wherever you'd like to place it geographically. But anyways, it's warm here. It gets real hot in the summer. Didn't know how they would do. So we got an experimental hive going. Anyways, so what I'd done, this hive was preparing to swarm. So I went through, got the queen cells off of them, placed the frames, took some of the nurse bees and frames over to the other side of the bee yard, left them for a couple of days, introduced the new hive, or the new queen to the hive. I came back a couple of days later. They hadn't released her yet, but I was confident enough that since the bees had been queenless for a few days before I put her in the hive, they had a couple of days after that to sort of get acclimated to her pheromones. I felt confident that they would accept her. So I went ahead and decided to do a direct release. Well, when I'd done that, this queen wasn't marked. So I decided, well, since I've already got her, she's right here, I've got my marking cage handy, I'll just go ahead and mark her. Well, I put the marking cage on her, went to put the plunger in the queen cage, in the marking cage. When I went to put the plunger in, she flew. And so that's the purpose of this video, is after that happened, I left the hive just how it was. It was open, I left it open, and I walked away. Had some business to do in another one of my hives, so I went to tend to that business. Came back, I don't know, probably 5-10 minutes later, reassembled the hive, hoping okay, because she sort of flew out in front of me, then she circled back around behind me, and then I just lost her. So I don't know exactly what happened, where she went after that. But anyways, I come back 4 or 5 days later, and she's not there. So the purpose of this is, if you have a queen and you're going to do a direct release, a mated queen can fly. A laying queen, now I'm sure there's somebody out there that's had an instance where a laying queen has flew on them, so I'm not going to put it out there and say a laying queen will never fly. Because they may. I've never had one. I've only been doing this 2 years, so it's not like I'm the most experienced beekeeper, but in my 2 years of doing this, I've never had a laying queen fly on me. But I have had a mating queen fly on me, now twice. So anyway, she flew, she didn't come back. So if you're going to do a direct release on a mated queen that's went through the mail service, it takes a couple of days to do that. Be sure that you set her down in the frame and let her be. And I say that sort of cautiously because you always take the chance of them not accepting her, and they'll ball her and they'll kill her. But if she flies, she's probably not going to come back to that hive. In my case, she didn't. Now, I was fortunate with this hive because I missed one of the queen cells that I took out from the split. So they raised, well, they really didn't even have to raise their own queen. It wasn't an emergency cell. It was just a queen cell that I'd missed. And, I told y'all 5 days after, the queen had went missing, I came back and there was no egg. So I knew that she, didn't come back. Well, I came back after that, maybe 3 or 4 days later, because I'd bought another Saskatraz queen, gonna introduce her to this hive. There's eggs all in this hive. So I get to looking, and there is a newly mated queen in there. Well, actually, it was probably closer to a week after that, not 3 or 4 days, excuse me, guys. Anyways, they had one of them queen cells I'd happened to miss. She had hatched out, went on her mating flight, came back, started laying eggs. So on that one, I lucked out. Now, I've got this, and I'm going to show y'all these hives. I've got some other big equipment over here that I've got to get out of the way. But I'll go ahead and show y'all my hives on the stand in just a moment. But so I ordered that second Saskatraz. Well, she came in. I took a couple of frames from a hive that wasn't preparing to swarm, but they had such a substantial population they could lose a couple of frames of bees. I think I put 3 frames in there. It wasn't going to hurt them. Generally wouldn't do that in a nectar flow because you want your population and you want your brood and your production hives so that you can produce honey. But that hive could stand to lose them, and with me trying to get these new genetics in here, that's the main goal of mine. One of the main goals of mine for this year. Excuse me, guys. So pulled a few frames from another hive. They weren't queenless, but for just a few minutes when I put her in there. Now, she was in a queen cage. Took them a couple of days to eat out the little candy cork and release her. Well, I was really fortunate on this one for 2 reasons. The first reason being I seen them balling her, and I put her in my queen clip and was able to save her. The second reason I was fortunate with this queen. When I seen them balling her, I didn't have my queen clip on me. All I had was that marking cage. So I put her in the marking cage, put my hand over the top of it, go back to the truck to find my queen clip. Whenever I went to transfer her from the marking cage to the queen clip, she flew. Oh, and I was sick, guys. Oh, it made me so sick. Just like, gosh, I've already bought 2 of these queens trying to get these genes in my bee yard, and the second one flew. After the first one, I knew she wasn't going to go back to the hive. So I came down back to my hive stands and was just sort of putting things back together, just all frustrated. And I went back to my truck for something, and that queen had landed. I had a couple extra frames in the back of my truck, and she had landed on one of them frames. So I was very fortunate enough to catch her in that queen cage because she had landed back on that frame. Reintroduced her to this hive, left her in that queen clip, and in that queen clip, even though there was still room enough for worker bees to get in there, they weren't able to manipulate her to the point that they could ball her and kill her. And eventually, after I think it was about 4 days I left her in there in that queen clip, they accepted her, which I'm very grateful for. So, all in all, anytime you're dealing with queens that aren't laying, be patient. Because patience hurt me once and almost really hurt me a second time. The other thing is, if a queen flies, she probably isn't going to come back into the hive. If you had her in a hive, she's probably not going to come back in there. But the good thing is, if you hang around for a couple of minutes, she may land in a spot nearby. I've heard people talk about, I found her on a small little tree branch hanging by, or, if you've got a hive stand, my hive stands are cinder blocks with 4x4 posts running through them. Now she may land on that, so give her a minute and see if she'll land, and then you can get it and you can scoop her up. But don't expect her to go back into the hive if she's never been in there. So, anytime, like I said, anytime you're working with mated queens that aren't laying, just be patient, and hopefully y'all won't run into this situation, because that is very stressful. These queens like this, they're pretty expensive. After shipping, I paid like $50 for one of them, and I think 40 for the first one. The first one I lost, so I didn't reincorporate any of that one, but I was fortunate enough to catch that second queen. So when I was looking on Google and stuff for answers about, will a queen come back, I didn't find anything that I thought was a definitive answer. Yeah, I found that one thing that told me, they may land on a nearby branch or a post or just something. That really didn't give me the answer that I was really looking for, either a yes or a no answer. So that's sort of the purpose of this video. So again, I know I've said it a couple times now, but if a queen flies on you, don't expect her to come back into this hive. Just be patient. Anytime you're working with anything like this, don't get yourself in a hurry. Don't get yourself in an uncomfortable position to where you're doing something that maybe you don't have a whole lot of experience with and you're trying to rush it. Take your time, do things the right way, and hopefully you'll be successful at it. I'm very pleased to have at least this one queen, and introducing these genetics to my bee yard. So I know it's been a few weeks since I put anything out. I've been dealing with some issues with my phone, but I finally got that straightened out. So hopefully we've got the honey harvest coming up here in a few weeks. I'm going to try to do a good video on that one. I'm going to try to do another video in between this and the honey harvest. So guys, I appreciate y'all for your support. I'm trying to grow my channel, trying to grow, Jamie and me are trying to grow our businesses, and any support that you show us is greatly appreciated. So again, we thank you for that. And thanks for watching, guys. Y'all have a good day, be blessed, and take care.